Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Frank here. I'm back out here in the shop working on the scarifier for the mini motor grader. Just cut out a couple of parts, going to tack them up here, see how they fit, and then hopefully make some more progress on the scarifier bar. So that's what I'm working on right now. All right, so these are the two filler plates on the back. They fit fine. For those of you that aren't really familiar with plasma table or plasma cutting and how it works, it does a nice job cutting parts out, but it does leave a little bit of slag or dross on the back edge that you need to chip off. Usually it comes right off, just like this is coming off. Different people use different tools to do this. I have found that this heavy putty knife is the ticket, for me anyway. So, okay, so those are cleaned off. The front edge is generally perfectly clean when you cut it out on a plasma torch. It's the back edge that has the dross on it. So these pieces serve two purposes. One, a little bit extra strength on the channel. Not that it's going to have that much force on it, but the other reason is give it a more finished look. So obviously it looks a lot nicer with this on it. All right. So what I'm going to do now is just tack this in place because I've got to fit this triangular piece. I misjudged that a little bit when I cut it, so I'm going to probably cut another one. But let me get these tacked on here. Almost did that. All right, so that's just enough to hold it together. I misjudged this angle a little bit. I'm like an eighth of an inch off right here. So I need a little sharper point or a little longer point, like just a hair over an eighth of an inch. All right, let's go back to Fusion and try to fix that. All right, so here we are in Fusion. This is my project for the scarifier and a lot of the parts I've been working on. One we're most interested right now is this triangular piece. These are the two rectangular plates which we cut out for the back of the bar, scarifier bar. This is the filler part. So I need to modify this a little bit. So let's see, I think it's, which sketch is it? It's sketch 8. Okay, so I want to change the length of this center point by about 3/16. Let's see if we can move it. All right, so this is the whole drawing. So now we're going to modify that. We're going to say okay there. Oh, move the whole thing. Okay. Edit sketch. So I had set this to 1 7/8. So I think I want to do 2 1/16, something like that. So that gives me about 3/16 wider. All right, so I'm going to extrude this backwards 1/4 of an inch again. So you can see it has some thickness there, this triangular piece. All right. Up here in the left-hand corner, we go from the Design tab to the Manufacture tab. Back and look at the front of the part again. And we go down to our previous profile, our cut profile, and we can edit it. So all I have to do is pick the new face contour and click on OK, and it generates the cut path. All right. So the start and stop here. So I usually run a simulation just to make sure I'm cutting what I want. So that works. All right. So I exit the simulation up here, and then I generate the G code. So we're going to call this Ripper Bar Back Triangle. Pick the correct profile, tool profile, hit enter, generates the G code successfully, go into fire control. There it is, Ripper Bar Back Triangle. That's my refrigerated air dryer, blowing air. Okay. All right, so here it is. I'm going to pick my, I'm going to go over to the table here and we'll see where I need to be in order to pick the best place on the table to cut this piece. Now I want to pick a spot to cut a piece similar to this, and you're always trying to maximize, the use of your sheet. So I think I'm going to cut it here. There's a piece here that won't be utilized, but I may be able to use that for a small part. But I'm trying to utilize as much of the material and leave as little scrap as possible. So let me get my old part. All right, so this is what I cut before. So I'm going to turn it over and try to cut it here. Okay. Something like that. All right, so I go into fire control and I go pick my start point. Let me make sure I can reach all the way over to this side. So there is no computer aid in terms of locating the best position for a part. I mean, there's no software which optimizes your use of materials. You have to do that by eye or manually. So you pick a spot. So I think I'm gonna, Yeah, I mean, you need to allow a little bit of room. All right, I'm going to, let's see. So I go back into fire control, and here's my inverted triangle. You pick your work origin and set your program origin. I've set it right there. I've got my torch where I think I want it at that corner. So it should then cut this part out in that location. Make sure I have it's pretty close. Okay, so let's go ahead and fire this off, hit start. You move the part off the table. I don't want to leave the old part there. All right, so let's go see how much better this fits. All right, so this is the replacement part here. All right, I'm going to clean up a little bit there. Let's see. Pretty good fit. I need to round that off a little bit. Let's see. Ah, that's pretty good fit. All right, I think that's fine. Let's go ahead and glue it together with some hot melt glue. And again, I'm just tacking this stuff because we'll come back and fully weld it when we're satisfied with everything. Okay. I need to start working on the attachment points for the top link and the lower links. So the lower links are, well, the arms at the axle are spaced 14 inches apart. So I have to decide, how far apart I'll make the lower links. Haven't decided that yet. But the top link's obviously going to be in the center, and we're going to put it about 10 inches up. So I got a couple of parts I've designed to create that attachment point. So we'll go back to the plasma table, cut one of them out, and start fitting that up. I mean, we'll come back and weld all these to the front or to a plate which will bolt to the front. I'm not sure which I'm going to do. It may be that I want this replaceable. We'll decide that as we get a little further along. It doesn't make any difference right now. All right, got another part to cut. Let's do that. All right, if this looks a little different from a few minutes ago, it's because I somehow lost or were corrupted 19 video segments of me cutting out these parts and assembling this. But what we got here is you saw me cut this plate out. I bent it, so it's at an angle here, and cut out these supports, tacked all this together. These are for the lower arms. This is for the top link. So it's together, tacked together anyway, which is as far as I'm going to do until I fit it up, actually. So I do have two more parts. I have the lower triangle, which I'm going to put that on. And then this last plate, which will close in the back like that. So I'm going to go ahead and clean these up. We'll tack these on. And then this video may be a little bit short. It's a good thing I took the data card in last night and uploaded the files to my editing computer, and I waited hours for them to, for some reason they were anyway, 19 separate video segments, about 30 gigabytes of video were lost. But you see the result, so we'll just keep moving on from here. And clean the slag off of these two pieces, and then we'll fit them and tack them on. Probably won't be able to tack this one on. I mean, I can't do it till I weld, in here. But so that may sit until we're, actually ready to assemble it. do need to make sure you wear eye protection. Better yet, full face protection, chipping the slag off these parts, because this is really tough to get this stuff off. All right. All right, that's a good fit there. All right, so that's the first triangle. This is the second triangle that we're fitting today, and it looks really good. Got out of, the tack pulled this out of position. See how it pulled that a little bit out of position. There we go. Okay. And we'll wait on this. All right, I've decided to redo these. I was not happy with the alignment of the holes from one side to the other. Some of them were fine, like this one's fine, but some of them weren't that great. So I'm going to do it as a three-piece assembly now. All right, I'm not going to bore you with the assembly of 19 of these pieces, but we'll set one up and then see how that goes, and then I'll assemble these separately. I mean, I do have a fixture table here, and I have fixture clamps and parts and stuff, so we will leverage that. 1 inch apart there. That may be too wide. We're going to see what it does. Yeah, so that's too wide. And I'm just doing this real quick. I'll set up a proper fixture here. Okay, so I've got some supports here to fixture it, and I've got the plates a little bit narrower, so there's a channel for the weld on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and tack this one. I wonder what I need to keep it from. Let me do this. I may need to put a couple clamps so that it doesn't. When you weld here, it's going to pull and spread these plates apart at the other side. So maybe I can minimize some of that with a couple clamps. Okay, so that hopefully those clamps will there we go, down further. Keep it from spreading the bottom part apart. Let's test this one out, and then I'll let you guys go, because you don't want to watch me do 9 of these. I knocked my ground clamp off. Couple little spots to take care of. Okay, see the spacers in there. Well, I'm going to let it cool like that. It doesn't feel like it's spreading apart, which is what you would expect it to do. All right, well, I'm going to let that cool. I'll pull it apart. All right, folks, that's it for this episode. Got a lot accomplished as far as attachment points, changed some direction on the shank holders, but you know, you live and learn. So we'll come back next week continuing to work on this. Meanwhile, I'll weld the shank holders together. So I think next week, I think we got to cut some shanks out and see what they look like. We'll cut a prototype and adjust from there. I do need to think about the ripper holders. So they're going to be a little bit bigger. Rippers would normally be larger than the scarifier shanks. So we'll have 9 scarifier shanks across the front and probably like 4 ripper shanks across the back. So the ripper shank holders will be just a bigger version of these, I believe. So, all right, we'll come back continuing to work on that stuff. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment, tell me what you think so far. Give a thumbs up if you can. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.